Don't ever let somebody tell you can't do something. You got a dream. You gotta protect it. You want something, go get it. Period.
What's up, guys? Jay Bandy here with the For Love Podcast, episode 24. Today, I'm here with a buddy of mine that I've worked with for quite a long time. Big part of my career. He was around for, and definitely a guy that I looked up to. His style of doing the job was definitely something that was inspiring to, I think, a lot of guys. So, Arpad Tolnay, what's up?
How are you? Very excited.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people are going to like this one. So, for people who don't know, we've worked together I came on in 2008. So how many years did you have at that point?
10. I came on in 98.
All right, so you had 10 years on. Damn, I don't even remember that year, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Don't feel bad as me neither.
A lot of blurs. But anyways, so you had 10 years on. I had my first year on. And what year did you said 98 you came on?
Yep.
Okay. Where did you grow up?
Originally, I grew up in Bridgeport. I'm an immigrant, so
Okay.
Came here from overseas.
Did you? From where? I didn't know that.
Yeah, from South America.
Get out of here! I didn't know that. Actually, I think I heard that, but I never really retained that information.
So what ended up happening was we came here, and I think I was 4. My brother, who's also a police officer, he's a detective sergeant.
Where's
I was 4, he was 2.
Where's your brother at?
Norwalk.
Oh, nice.
So then, from that point on until 7th grade, we lived in Bridgeport. Then we moved to Shelton, Connecticut.
Gotcha.
After that, I was in Shelton, and then.
So, you went to Shelton High and all that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you grew up. That's where basically you got all your education. How was that?
Good. It was nice. It was. I don't want to say small town. Shelton's not small, but it had a small town feel. You knew everybody. You knew all the police officers. When I was a kid, I grew up a block and a half from the Shelton Police Department. But it was a nice town. Like I said, you knew everybody. You went into businesses. Everybody kind of knew each other. But it was still a pretty big town at that time.
I even hear now it's still pretty good out of a lot of towns in Connecticut. A lot of people say the taxes are pretty good there, a pretty decent place to live.
Yeah, I always liked it. I mean, I always enjoyed it. If I didn't make my career up here in New Haven, I would have probably still been there now.
Mm-hmm. Now, so you graduate high school, and what happens? Did you want to go to college? What brought you to be a cop?
I went in... what brought me to be a cop is, growing up in Bridgeport, it's hard to not see police officers. You'd see the cars, you'd see the police officers walking the beat. I still remember, we lived in an apartment building, looking out my window and seeing the police officer, walking down the street. And I used to think, wow. Uh-huh. And he would do, back then they had those, the sticks on the string.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing.
Yeah.
You just watch him
That's
do
old
it and watch
school.
him do it. Yeah. Uh-huh. And I remember looking at that and, television shows, if you want to be a police officer, it's all. I don't know how many. I mean, I'm sure it happened, but I don't know how many people that are in their 20s or mid 20s and go, you know what? I think I'd like to be a police. That's something that, whether it happens with other professions or not. I think that when you're young, you say, man, I want to be a police officer. And if it sticks with you growing up, you eventually find your way. Sometimes it's difficult to get on. Well, at least it was a coveted job.
Yeah. Was it hard for you to get on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't get it the first time around?
Well, that's an interesting story. I mean, I applied, and I passed the written and the physical. And I never heard. I'm hoping I'm telling the order correctly. Yeah. And I never heard anything else.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
So I waited and I applied again, which, and I mean, call it what you will. I mean, I'm fluent in Spanish.
Yeah.
my mother's family all originate from Spain. On any occasion that I've had the ability to have to check off, white, black, I always check off white.
Yeah.
I always check off white.
Uh-huh.
For whatever reason is that, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes the choices are white, black, or Alaskan. I mean, you know what I mean?
You really don't have that range there for you.
Right. So, anyways, on the second apply, I checked off Hispanic, which I am.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And lo and behold,
Just an interesting story because it's like, all right, this didn't work the first time. I'll try this. Fuck it.
Well,
and it
both,
works.
Both are correct,
Yeah.
right? Both are right.
Yeah.
And the second time I checked off Hispanic, and long story short, here I am. As a matter of fact, interesting story. I had made it through, the written, the physical, the polygraph, everything else that was required to get to the point where I'm actually being interviewed by the police commissioners, the chief of police, and it's interesting. I won't be able to remember her name. She was
Yeah,
a figure.
we won't bring up names
Figure.
of people.
But I was at the final interview. I had my suit on, nervous as hell.
Yeah.
And I remember answering questions to the best of my ability or how I felt. And I remember one individual, police commissioner, just honest to God, like this, all night. Now, my name is Arpad Tolnay.
Yeah.
That's the name I
Doesn't
changed
sound
it to.
Hispanic.
When I became an American citizen, I just changed it. Arpad Stephen Tolnay. My birth name is Arpad Esteban Garcia
Oh.
Tolnay.
Okay. So it's
Hungarian.
yeah,
It's like a Hungarian, 2 pieces of Hungarian bread with all the Spanish inside. Because my first name is Hungarian. Both my middle name, are Hispanic, and my last name is also Hungarian.
Cool.
So I remember getting through, and when they were free to ask me certain questions, that one individual looked at me and they said, I'll use they, because they say to me, I see your name is Arpad. Yes, Arpad Tolnay. Got my name now, finally. On your application, it says you're Hispanic male, and we've hired Hispanic males in the past before who only really had Hispanic in the family, but that we weren't able to use them for translations and everything. So I replied to her in Spanish. I said, Si hay una pregunta que me necesitas preguntar, yo te lo puedo decir en español. Which is basically, if you have a question that you would like to ask me, I will give you my replies in Spanish. And they almost like jumped. I swear, I'm not even exaggerating. They went back and they said, oh, okay, because, we hire people, and because they have a Hispanic name, but they're not really Hispanic. And, and it's funny because 24 years or almost 23 years later, at that time I was just like, oh, that was weird. 23 years later, I see it for what it actually was. You want to call it profiling? Let's call it profiling. You want to call it someone doubting the fact that because I don't look like, I don't know, Ricardo Tubbs, I might not be Hispanic, which my daughter got as well one time.
Really?
My daughter has light brown hair, light colored eyes, very fair skin. It is what it is. And when she was young, I'm talking maybe 3rd, 4th grade, they had to fill out a thing for the testings.
Yeah.
And she checked off Hispanic. And the teacher said, no, white. And my daughter said, no, but my dad is... And she said, you have to check this one off.
Wow.
And,
That's
my
okay.
daughter's name is not Hispanic. Her last name is Hungarian. She looks, very pale. And by appearance alone, they were misjudging what she was. But anyways, so long story short, by the time I was done responding everything in proper Spanish, because I'm fluent, I was very excited. So that's how
they got what they wanted, huh?
Yeah.
As long as they're happy.
And I translated a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
During my
I
years
never
on
even
the
knew it,
job.
dude. I never even knew it, to be
lot of people
honest.
did.
I didn't know that you could speak Spanish.
Yeah. I'm
Shit.
fluent.
Damn.
Read, write, paint.
That's pretty interesting. You learn everything. Something new every day.
It's weird. It's funny because if you and I are talking and we're walking into my mother's house,
Yeah.
I immediately transition to Spanish.
Really?
Immediately. It's not even a
Yeah.
It's not even a thought. I just
Yeah.
My father's Hungarian, fluent in Hungarian,
You speak that too?
but I used to. When my
Yeah.
grandmother was alive, I spoke a lot. My grandmother spoke English, Spanish, and Hungarian because my grandmother, my father, and my aunt, they basically snuck out of Hungary during the war.
Okay.
They had a foot it. My grandfather was assassinated. He was
Jeez.
a higher ranking member of the military.
Yep.
He got called to a meeting where it was basically a trap. And
Wow.
they
This
all,
is your grandfather.
Yeah, they all
That's
got shot.
wild.
Dead, yeah.
That's wild.
But you can. The thing that the point that I was trying to make is that I don't know. You never know who you're dealing with.
You never know.
You know what I mean?
You know.
I don't necessarily look Hispanic.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I look a lot more Hispanic. I identify with the Hungarian traditions.
Yeah.
But it's a nice mixture of all of them.
I always give people the benefit of the doubt. If they say there's something, then show me, prove it to me. That's all. That's all I need.
By speaking Spanish.
That's it. That's all I need. Yeah, I don't need to go, dance around it. I would just tell you, dude, you don't look Spanish. Say something Spanish to me.
Well, we had a couple people like that actually were Hispanic, but
Yeah.
if you
can't
had
speak it?
3 guesses, it wouldn't have been one. You know.
Or yeah, like I said, there's guys on the job that are Hispanic, look really Hispanic, but don't speak it at all.
Exactly.
I'm like, fuck, that's wild.
Yeah.
And then people are asking me all day long if I do, because apparently I look Hispanic.
Yeah.
So how old exactly were you when you got on?
Oh, I can't do math. Let's see. I think I was my now oldest daughter was just born. She was maybe 2 years. I want to say that I was 27, 28.
Okay. So that's not. I mean, that's a pretty. You're still young. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I also had applied to another department out of state and I had gotten the job 5 years earlier or 4 years earlier, and my father, who never wanted me to be a police officer, talked me out of it.
Yeah.
And so instead of accepting that job, so then I kind of went and tried to do some other things, but it became that I knew what I wanted to do and nothing I was doing.
Yeah.
So then I started to reapply.
It's funny you say that because a part of me feels like the best cops were guys that always kind of wanted to be one at some point.
Yeah.
Not people that just were like, okay, I'm going to do this just because I can't figure anything else out, or, they just fell into it. I think it was people that always kind of had the interest at a younger age, and it stayed with them, and then it happens.
And you cultivate it.
Yeah.
As you grow up.
Right.
You watch different shows on police in it. Then as you get older, you get to watch different movies, and it just, you watch them, and some people will look at it one way, and other people will look at, wow, I would do that to save somebody's life. And you just kind of, you grow from there.
It's funny
like
because
you said,
I even see that when I was young. Like now when I look back, I have vivid memories, and I don't remember that vividly things from the past, but like just police officers from when I was young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From growing up in my town, just like you said when you were growing up and seeing that guy dangle the baton and shit like that. So like, I think when now you look back and it's like, okay, I'm one of those guys and I'm doing it. It's just interesting to see the different types of personalities that come about the job.
they're all different.
Oh, it is,
There's so many different.
That's what's wild. It's like there's crazy amounts of personalities, and then they
Right.
want to
not that there aren't two of the same, but there are so many different. It's just like you go into. I don't know. You go into a baseball stadium on a day where 2 good teams are playing and tell 100 people to come out.
Yeah,
you might
that's
have
a police
60
department.
different I mean, you might have 60 different personalities to deal with, and
people don't understand that the job on the inside is just as hard as it is on the outside, if not harder. You will butt heads with coworkers. You will get into arguments with bosses and things like that, and it's just a part of the job. And yes, you're dealing with a job where a lot of us we know we have power. And some of these people take advantage of it or use it for the wrong reasons or whatever. That's just human nature.
It's the law of average.
You know what I mean? It's just human nature. And sometimes, that's what happens. You bicker with people, you get into arguments. But listen, dude, I can tell you many times where I got into arguments with people at work, and then, you cool down and you're cool. You know what I mean? It's just part of the fucking job in reality. And I think being a man and being a cop and knowing that and being able to do that with your coworkers makes you a better cop on the street too. You know what I mean? It just makes you personable and real. So when you got on, you get out of the academy. How was the academy experience?
The academy experience was not at all what one would have expected. At that time, we had the community-based policing. So I'll tell you one thing. It was almost like being in an extreme college class that you took it and there's going to be some work to do, but then you get in there and you realize it's 3 times what you thought. So it was a lot of academic book stuff, and then a lot of other stuff that really wasn't related to policing.
Yeah.
But,
when I look back, I say, and even now, I tell people that are going through it, I'm like, listen, just be in the moment when you're in there. Do what they tell you. There's reasons for what's going on, and you'll learn a lot of things that you'll probably remember. But for the most part, you're gonna learn everything on FTO. Mm-hmm. And when you came out, you graduate, and you come on to FTO. How was your FTO experience?
Well, that's when it really, back then, it really gave you a taste of what it was really going to be like.
Yeah.
And, I do remember, we had, at that time, the police academy was in one union on the 4th floor.
Yeah, I remember hearing stories about that.
We used to report there, and, the veteran officers were, all throughout the building, and, they'd walk by and say, don't worry about the academy. When you get out here, you'll learn how to do it for real. And, you think they're joking, but it's true, because you can read about a guy who got a screwdriver stuck in his neck and read about what happened, and that's cool, and you're learning this and what laws apply to this situation. That's cool. But when you're looking at a guy with a screwdriver in his neck, it's a different story.
Yeah, the emotions involved, the reality of it, everything.
Because you start to say, wow, I mean, this is humanity.
Yeah, real life.
This is a human being who, a moment before this happened, was living, breathing, has shoes in his closet, clothes hanging, he has a family, and now nothing. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Might as well be a giant bag of laundry. That's it. It's over. Mm-hmm. That hits you, and you're like, wow. You remember reading about certain situations, but now you're there. Mm-hmm. And now you got to get, and this is where you start to develop that callus, year after year. You can let that keep bothering you. You can let that keep, that wow sensation, but you got a job to do.
Yeah.
Now there's a bunch of other things you need to do. So now you got to be like, all right, let me put this away for later because I don't got time for this right now. I got to do paperwork. I got to make sure this guy's I got to make sure the crime scene is secure. I got to notify my supervisor. And all of a sudden, it's 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And it's not, I akin this to the same feeling that a doctor must have. When a doctor's pulling a kidney out of somebody's body, it's just like, well, here's the kidney, take it. I got it. To someone else that's sitting right next to it,
holy shit,
it could be the most traumatic thing they've ever seen in their life.
Right.
And that's what happens with us as well.
That's what's interesting is that people ask me all the time, oh, you ever see a dead body, all this, all that. And every cop gets those questions all the time.
What people think is the coolest is the most traumatic.
Yeah, but and not even that, though. Like, if they ever experienced it, they probably wouldn't be able to deal with it. Or
they definitely wouldn't be that excited.
No, they wouldn't. Absolutely not. And that's what makes me now look at people and how they're treating us now and how they're looking at our job and trying to Monday morning quarterback it, when in reality they probably can't even handle something like that. Something as simple as looking at a dead body. Yeah. How are you going to handle shooting somebody if you need to, or saving yourself or somebody else?
Acting rationally.
Yeah, and these people just don't get that.
It's
this shit. After a while, if you're good, and I always say this, part of being a good cop is having confidence in yourself, being able to make decisions and being confident in that decision.
Well, you have to be.
And the biggest problem I see now is that cops don't know what to do. They don't know what decision to make.
I'll tell you something. if you have a minute, I have an incident that occurred to me where one of the closest times that I've ever, in my head, finally realized I'm going to kill this person.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. It didn't come down to that, and I'll cut a long story out. But it was, me and Bobby Fumiati, God bless him, rest in peace, Bobby. We were working a DUI shift, and there was a shooting downtown, or someone shot like 6 rounds into a vehicle as a cop, was a couple blocks. Anyway, so at one point, I have to get up. I climbed through a tall fence and some barbed wire. I was lucky Bob pulled his car up, so I stood on the top of the lights and was able to get over.
Yeah.
The suspect climbed through it, blood everywhere.
Oh, shit.
Now he's behind the building. Long story short, I get him. I tell him to turn around. Now I'm behind. I have great cover. I'm ex-military. I had great cover. You know what I mean? Yelling orders at this subject. Put your hands up, but don't. He puts his hands up, starts walking towards me. As he's walking towards me, he sticks his hand in the front of his pants, quick. And at that point, I took my finger, put it on the trigger, and I said, I might kill this. If he comes out with a gun, I had the luxury.
Yeah.
I had the luxury. I'm not saying, if me and him are here and here, he puts it, after I explained to him to put his hands up, he goes in his pants from here to here.
Yep, you know the deal.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
At that time, I had excellent cover, so I waited, put my finger on the trigger. It wouldn't have deterred me from shooting him, but in that split second, all in my head, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong, but all I thought in my head was, you're going to be a white cop who just killed a black man. It didn't affect me. I'm still watching. I'm waiting. He came out with a bag of drugs this big. Why you would risk getting shot?
Yeah.
And then he threw him under right in front of me. You know what I'm saying? What do you think? Who cares?
Yeah.
You almost got killed.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You're thinking something totally different than he is.
I've been mad my whole career. Not that it would have deterred me. If I would have had to have shoot him, he would have been shot.
Yeah.
I'm mad that the thought went through my head.
Yeah.
That should not be a thought that goes through someone's head. And I'm not saying that the situations back then wasn't like it is now. But now, if a police officer, I don't care how Jackie Chan you are, if that thought doesn't cross your mind before you have to use deadly force, something's wrong. And it does, whether they admit it or they don't.
Now,
because
absolutely.
Right now, you're doing your job. You're placing your life in jeopardy in order to prevent somebody from getting killed, prevent a situation that will escalate to more people getting killed. And now you got to worry about the legal media, the court of public opinions. You have to worry about that before taking that kind of action. Like I said, it's almost like there was two of me. I never got distracted from my point of view, which was where his hand was, where his hand was and what was coming out of his pants. But at that same time, I'm angry that thought ever went through my head.
It's crazy.
It shouldn't go through your head.
It's this narrative is creating a very dangerous path for everybody in reality, society and cops. And just like you said, like that's something that we shouldn't have to second guess ourselves. That's not, people need to understand something. Like I said, we should be able to make a confident decision quickly and be confident that that's the right decision without having to second guess ourselves because of things that are really not necessary. And that's what's happening, and it's putting a lot of people in danger. And I'm getting tired of seeing people dying because of it. But yeah, that shit's wild. I'll never understand how. I said this. Think of it like this: you got, like, if you're walking down a street one night with your wife, whatever, maybe not you, but somebody else, but a criminal comes up to you and says, "Give me everything you got," pulls a gun out on you, right? Now, Arpad Tolnay, he might kill the dude, but some other guy might do what? They're going to give them everything they have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if a cop pulls a gun out on somebody and tells them to do something, they can't do it. But if a criminal does it, they can do it all day. They'll obey it all day.
Yeah.
makes zero sense to me. It boggles my mind. I don't understand society right now.
In addition to that, you added that, the things that are going on are making police this, that. Even, there's been a lot of robberies and muggings that no matter how compliant you are, you give them everything you have. I remember there was one guy going around robbing people. They gave everything, and he would still clunk them over the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
And you're cooperating.
Yeah.
So just being cooperative. And I honestly don't understand anybody that is advocating for defunding the police, get rid of the police. Listen, this is not 1970. And I know because I grew up in the 70s. All right. I was born in the 60s. I was a child. I was a kid, but I've seen a lot. This is not 1960. It ain't 1970. It ain't even 1980. It ain't this is 2020. We see it time and time again, despite what, certain political groups, certain news channels, when a police officer does something egregious outside of his responsibility, outside of his duties, the law is followed. He is subject to the law. We've had officers go to jail for murder. We have officers go to jail for this. Officers go to jail for that. There is no injustice.
Right.
In 2020, what injustice? What kind of justice are we looking for? What planet do you want to live on? Because we have great laws in this country. We're not the only country. We have great laws. We have a great judicial system. We have a great, people in general, a society, whether it's police, fire. What are we fighting?
Well, the people that when you sit there and you say we have great laws, we have a great system,
and they're constantly changing to get better.
We do in reality have a great system. The basis for that system is great. It's the people running it that are fucking it all up. So that's the biggest problem. But the system on paper, if it was ran by honest people and doing the right thing, would work really well. But the other thing is the society is just going backwards. It's crazy to me because, like you're saying, 2020, we should be in a society right now where, everybody is really close to getting along and like understanding each other and all this shit. How long do we have to go until that happens? I don't get it.
I'll tell you, it's saddening the situation. I mean, it really is. And it angers me that like this violence is directed towards the police. Are you kidding? Like,
I know.
Are you kidding me?
But they love to call us, Arp. They love it.
And I'll tell you something. This starts, and this is something that for years bothered me as well. And I'm sure it's happened to you too. Mom walking with her kid.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. The police will arrest you. And I go, whoa. I go, I don't arrest kids.
I say it all the time.
Like, I said, don't tell the kid I'm going to arrest him. He's going to be scared to death of me.
Perfect example.
You know what I mean? And I've been saying that for years and years.
I hate that. I hate that.
And like you said, we're fallible. Police officers make mistakes. When a police officer does something egregious, I'm not talking about a mistake. When a police officer intentionally steps outside or out from behind his badge to do something that they know is wrong, they've suffered the consequences.
Yeah.
No one ever says, "Oh, what? You're a Caucasian from Georgia? Yeah, let him go." No. When a police officer truly does something that is outside of his duties and his responsibilities, they suffer the consequences. And all this jibber jabber on the news and media and people's social posts, you go to these social media warriors, whether it's I'm with Paris or Black Lives Matter, then you look at their posts and you go back, to pictures from 6 months ago. It's I don't give a shit. I'm drinking beer. Now all of a sudden you have a concern. That's why it's a fake concern. And I was having a discussion with someone because I told them that when I opened up my Facebook, it said, "Hey, we'll donate the first $19 for your donation," and it's all one ethnic organization. Why don't you give me 20?
Oh, that
all different.
That's probably going right to the Democrats.
But anyway, my thing is that my contribution to racial justice is to have never have
Yes.
used that against someone.
Yes.
That's my contribution
Yes.
as one individual, no matter where we went, no matter what area of New Haven. Was it nice area? Was it, a dump where every apartment building is falling apart and people are renting apart? When you get there, that's a human being.
Yep.
And even sometimes when you deal with some people that are under you got to say, you know what? Sometimes you have a really shitty day, and this dude might not be this kind of man right now. This is somebody that it just happened, and it's temporary, and that's also work. My point is, that's my contribution.
Yeah.
I'm not giving money to nobody. I'm not going to protest. I'm not going to beat up old people. I'm not going to burn buildings. My contribution as one person and to my children that I'm passing on is, I don't judge people by color. I don't judge people by their gender. I don't judge people by these little, these fucking bubbles of interest of them. I judge them by the person, by how I'm treated, by how I'm allowed to treat them, and that's how you judge people. Now, sounds simple and stupid and cheap because I don't want to donate, but you know what? If everybody looks to themselves and says, this is how I must behave, then we don't have no problems.
Yes.
And one thing that I wanted to say, I didn't prepare. I didn't know what we were going to talk about.
No, we always free flow.
If I was able to segue this, I wanted to do it.
Do it.
My contribution. They ask you to make contributions, and what's fake contribution? I mean, I watched a video of residents of Brantford. I thought I was watching Rumpelstiltskin. They were gonna, put their feet through the cement, and I'm like, have you been like this for the last? I mean, how long certain movements are? I've been a decade. Is this? You've been like this for a decade? I mean, if that's your conviction that you look like you're gonna crumble the concrete under your feet, is it just a buildup and now all of a sudden it hit?
Yeah.
There's a lot of fake. Listen, there's a lot of fake people. But I'll tell you something, Jay.
Don't get me started.
If you and I are not friends, but we have to interact with each other, and you hate my goddamn guts, but every morning you say, hey, what's up, Art? And you know what? That's, hey, what's up, Jay?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on, but here, I'm sorry, here's the point I'm trying to make. Even if there are certain issues of people saying, oh, I don't like this guy because of his skin color. I don't like her because... If there are still people doing that, in 2020, you can just walk right fucking past that.
Yeah.
Because the person who doesn't like Hispanics, if he has the grounds to dismiss, you have a choice. You go get an attorney. These are choices you got to make. You say, I don't feel that I was hired, and now you use the law, the method of law, to get a result. And you know what? If your claim has merit, then maybe you'll get rewarded with the law. My point is that if you feel like your skin color, like if the people in the supermarket are watching you, F the people in the supermarket.
Right.
Do your shopping.
Right.
The supermarket is yours.
Right.
You make that choice. You can sit there and go, yeah, why do they, what's your problem?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
You can do that, or you can move on with your life, because in 2020, nobody's going to keep you from doing nothing. They might not like you. They might call you the name. They might feel that way. They can't stop you.
No. It's all about the thought process.
What are we fighting for now?
It's all about the thought process, like we said. Like,
exactly.
If you think about it like this, I tell people, I'm like, nobody can make you feel any way in reality. Only you can make yourself feel that way. So, like, if somebody, like, all right, so say somebody passes away in your life, okay? You're probably gonna feel sad, right? But if you really didn't want to feel sad, you didn't have to feel sad. You could probably control that sadness,
you can.
right?
Absolutely.
So I tell people, I'm like, you got to understand this stuff. Nobody can make you feel any which way. You make yourself feel that way by your own insecurities, your worries, your judgments, whatever it is. Your guilt, all these things. You got to just live a good life. Treat other people good. And we're old enough to know this. And what's crazy to me, I think, is when I talk about going backwards, I look at society and I'm like, damn, I almost look at like kids. I look at kids, I'm like, man, I wish society was more like kids, because they're so innocent. Like they don't really have a bad bone in their body yet. You know what I mean? And adults are just like out there fucking just like shitting on people like it's normal.
people are treating people.
It's fucking wild, dude.
It's horrible. You know, one of the things that, you know, you mentioned about people going back in time, it's like the things that are going on today, and as I told you before, I'm no genius. I like to consider that the amount of decades, you know, I'm going on 52 soon. The amount of years that I've spent, and I say this all the time, my wife can vouch for that. Even if you're the dumbest guy on the planet, if you're on this earth long enough, you can't help but you're going to learn certain things. Might not be the most useful, but you're going to learn. There's no way you can't keep from learning.
Right. You
could be as dumb as you want. You spend 60 years on planet Earth, and you're a dumb dude. In those 60 years, you're going to know something.
Right.
And like, I don't understand. Maybe it's just something I'm not understanding. Like you said, going back in time. The groups that are demanding equality,
they're
real. Demanding equality, but what they're physically, you know, you call it spiritually doing, are completely separating themselves. So it's like,
yes, exactly. That's why I say it's not real. It's not real equality.
How are you requesting for everybody on the planet to say, yes, we're all equal? But you get your own building because you complain that for fucking 200 years, this group of people made fun of your group of people. So in 2020, we want our own fucking dorm.
Every group of people can say this in reality.
Of course, the whole world formed by wars, slaves, prisoners, dead bodies, dead soldiers, and people up here being able to profit from it.
Exactly.
But my point is, and you keep, you know, you said about going back in time. You're requesting to go back in time, but you're demanding that we are forward thinkers. What are you talking about?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
What and who and what group in the United States of America in 2020 is not getting their due that anybody else can get?
I see everybody, has the opportunity. I see people doing crazy things of all colors and creeds.
Everybody.
You know what I mean? Millionaires everywhere, billionaires everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, we just had an African American president. We have Asians running for president. We have
a country where you can do anything. Doesn't matter what your skin color. Doesn't matter your man, woman. Nothing matters. And like I said, you have the tools. You have the ability in 2020 to just sidestep that.
Right.
Someone's looking at you funny.
It's weird because I think all these things that were created, and who knows, I've heard stories that they were created on purpose, like Amazon, Facebook, all these things to distract us and get our information and basically get us to be more divided. They say Facebook was, they say, here's what I heard. Mark Zuckerberg's not even really his real name. He's really a Rockefeller. And that he's really just a face of the company, and the reality is that he's the government created Facebook, and it was a way to basically,
wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, look what's happening with social media. So, I mean, you never know. And they say Amazon was created to get all our banking information.
Well, let me tell you. You know, we were discussing earlier, about conspiracy theories. Now, I guess the name, you have to stick with the name because it's been like that forever. I mean, they were throwing around conspiracy theorists,
Yeah.
The
thing
is that, as times change, like I mentioned before, technology, your ability to garner information.
Right.
I mean, anybody who says that someone who has a belief in a conspiracy theory is crazy or they don't know, well, hasn't history and the ability to search out history shown us that a lot of conspiracy theories were actually true?
Right.
I mean, they were actually true.
Right.
So what's to say that a conspiracy theory in 2020 won't reveal itself to be true in 2025 or 20? What if one day we all wake up one day and they're like, okay, well, we shut down your bank accounts. We're going to give you $50 a day. We're not stealing your money, but we're going to give you $50 a day. Yeah. And like you said, now it's control.
We're helping you.
I've always said it. People exist on different planes. All right. that's not to say that we're not human, but you have low income poverty. You have, middle class, lower class, upper middle class, whatever. Now you have people that are in superpower. I'm not talking about like the owner of the Wendy's or the general manager of Walmart. I'm talking about the elite.
Mm-hmm.
Their power, their wealth, their industry, all comes from us.
Yeah, we don't realize it. It's
And
crazy.
that's as
We have
good-
the power in reality.
But here's the thing: they are as good as they can suck it out of us.
Yes.
And that's all we are.
Yes.
So, what is so wrong to think that there's a possibility that they're saying, well, we just need them to fucking work and just get our shit going so we can keep collecting wealth?
Oh, yeah.
How do we control them more? Instead of free grazing your cows, how do we put these fuckers in stalls and just hook up into them and just suck them dry?
Basically what it is.
And I that might be too visual. I don't mean physically, but if listen,
you never know at this point.
this virus, right? Everybody's like, gung ho, blah. Virus, okay, everybody's home.
Yeah.
Nobody goes out. All the stores are fucking
Complete
closed.
control.
You can't buy paper towels. You can't buy toilet paper.
God forbid if you question it.
Imagine, exactly. Now imagine implementing that over the course of a decade. And then a decade from now, we're just like
normal.
this.
It just becomes
Hey,
normal.
Jay. I got $50 today,
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, could be far-fetched, but listen, fact follows fiction.
There's the book 1984 by George Orwell.
Look at that.
And the dude literally predicts everything. Tell me how somebody can do that. All right. Now, the conspiracy theory is that this plan has been in effect a long time.
Maybe.
JFK era time.
Absolutely.
So for George Orwell to write this book in 1984, which almost predicts every single thing
And that
we're
book's
going
fiction,
through,
right?
apparently,
That book's not.
Yeah.
That's not a learning book.
I mean, is there a chance that he could have knew? He could have knew somebody that knew? I mean, let's be real.
Well, does he know someone that knew, or did he know that this is the way that they need to do it?
Right.
And he's like, well, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And who never knows? I'm sure people are going to say I sound crazy. But one thing I know is, and I also like to, educate myself on a lot of. I love to read, so I'll look something up or something pops in my head.
Yep.
So I've read about a lot of conspiracy theories, and then, they're true. So I have a big feeling about.
How do you
that.
not believe stuff when you
don't
start connecting
dismiss
the
it.
dots? You start to see it. And the thing is this.
Absolutely.
Look at these people's character involved in all these things. I mean, how blind are you people? Like to be real, look at the character of these people. They lie to your faces every single day. The proof is there.
Care.
No, and people still are like enamored by it and follow and hang on their every word. I'm like, how much more manipulative do they need to get for you to realize that you're fucking controlled?
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude.
And
It's
that's what we do. That's
It's
what we
crazy.
do.
Let's get back to the job a little bit. In your career, what experiences really were tough for you?
I'll tell you, individual experience. I mean, as a patrol officer,
There's always a multitude. There always is.
I mean, listen, as a patrol officer, I work a lot of different sections of the city, so it was a very busy shift.
Yeah.
I
Exhausting
think,
at
I think
times.
honestly, some of the worst situations I've seen, obviously, are the ones where someone has expired.
Yeah.
And, a lot of gruesome, things to all take in all at once.
Yeah.
I remember I was a rookie. I can't tell you if I had 3 years on the job, but there was an incident and there was a shooting. A gentleman was assaulting a gentleman.
Yeah.
A dirtbag was assaulting his girlfriend. The police were finally called, and long story short, she ended up being killed by the boyfriend. And I won't describe the scene, but it was very surreal just because of the way it was presented. But it was the first time I had ever not only seen a human being, and they were hurt pretty bad. I mean, they were.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little.
But I had to stand there for 3 hours. You know, I was a patrolman to make sure that the crime scene wasn't compromised.
Right.
And you know, you look up and you don't want to look, and then you look, and then you start. And to me, it was always the thing. I'm like, my God, you know, that's a human being. Grew up, you know, family, birthdays. They have clothes in the closet that they're never going to wear. They have shoes. Throw them out. That's it.
Yeah.
And and that's when it started. That because I for 3 hours I had to.
Yeah.
And
that's your first time too.
So those issues were very hard. And also, you know, was really difficult is broken family stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that was the same for me.
And with the kids, you know, it always hurt extra special. And if I can say that, like you said, we developed this. I don't know. You don't want to call it ability. It's a defense mechanism to put some of these things aside. So I'm looking at a very bad looking dead person. But I got to go write 4 pages of reports. I got to go get names. I got to talk to everybody that was on scene to make sure, you know, you have things to do. So after a while, but the children things where children were involved, not necessarily specifically, but, you know, one parent was getting arrested and the child's crying. And I'm like, what can I do to help this boy? I'm nobody. But if anything, those were where I had to kind of be like, all right, you know,
yeah, it's tough.
Move on, dude. Not even like at the scene, but like if I'm writing the report or later on I'm on patrol or I'm on my way home and I'm going, man, that fucking poor kid. I go, that kid, you know, he doesn't, you know. So those things probably I allowed to slip through more into my conscience than some of the more gruesome stuff.
I've had times like that with kids where like you get there as an officer and you're literally put in the middle of the two parents, and then I've had the parents literally trying to coach the kids to tell me what they want, and that is the most upsetting to me. So I get really upset when that stuff happens. I call the parents out straight up.
It is,
you know what I mean? Because to me that they don't realize how damaging all this stuff is. You know what I mean, to these kids at that time. And that's why a lot of times, like when we get sent to schools, this is another reason why I don't think we should be in schools. They have school security, they have all these things. You know, these kids now they don't want to. You know, they're afraid to do anything with the kids in school. They don't want to touch them. They don't want to this. They don't want to that. They don't want to discipline them, yell at them, nothing. And so now they're calling the police all the time. That's damaging to these kids. Because now they're getting there and they want us to strap these kids to a gurney, send them in an ambulance down to the hospital. Now doctors are asking them questions. They see police officers, nurses. This is not okay. Why do we think? And then we wonder why we have all these kids on medication, all these kids with mental illness. You know, this stuff contributes to it. It's not helping.
Yeah. Like we were talking before, you know, a lot of times you see these kids and they have a home life that, you know, would make it look like doing our job as a walk in the park. And so now, like we were talking before, how long does it take before these things start affecting everything that you do every day? You know, like I told you, I reflect back on my job and I did it and I worked a ton of hours and I worked overtime. I got held over. But I look back and I go, yeah, I was laughing or I was, you know, keeping awake and writing. I was busy. Everything was moving. I was making money. But when I got out of there, you know, you're just like, you know, and how long do you do it before it starts to, and these poor kids, some of these poor kids' home life, we've seen it.
Oh, God, yeah.
You go into the house, but what you were getting is damaging to the police, and here's another situation. And I was a school resource officer.
Oh, you were? Yeah, that's right.
So what happens is they'll have a very difficult child, or let's not single a child. Let's just say they're having a very difficult situation with a child.
Right.
So, like you said, and I don't blame teachers because I've seen teachers do. You know, I've heard teachers do this, and the parents are there with the attorney.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
True.
The parents are right there with an attorney.
True that.
Nothing. So I understand that teachers are in a tough spot, but they'll get this child to a point. This kid's ready to explode. Then they're like, yeah, call the police. Then the officer walks in, and they're like, he's got to go. And now you're a police officer. You don't know what's been happening.
Right.
You don't have a history of this kid. You don't know what's been happening. You don't know anything that's occurred until you walked in that door and the principal or the teacher or somebody said, "Yeah, that kid's got to go. He's acting unruly."
Right.
And I would probe. Well, what happened? Did he get in a fight? But however, you still don't know.
Yeah.
Him. He don't know you. Now they want you to take him out of that classroom because they're worried that he's going to hurt another student.
Yeah.
So now you don't got time to spend an hour and a half going. So when you were growing up, what was your favorite sports team? You have to get this kid out of the room, who's usually a 13-year-old who looks like he's a 27-year-old, retired MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And now, I'm no Superman, but you can call two of your buddies and have me remove myself without punching me square in the face.
Yeah.
Try to get me off this couch, Jay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But now we got to use more force because this kid is swinging. And you're going to take a shot to the
you
eye,
can't,
or
you
you
can't,
already
like you
did,
said, you can't hit
or
him.
you're playing it off because you don't want to hit a kid.
Right.
So now you're using force, and now people are going, well, we wanted him out of the classroom, but you didn't have to. So it's a double-edged sword.
It is,
What do you do?
Yeah.
It's not like you walk in and go, hey, kid, you're being an asshole. Let's go. No, you don't. I'm coming. No, man.
Yeah.
So I've been in those situations.
Yeah. Same.
And I've seen those situations, and I've heard of those situations.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's very difficult. So I know what you're saying with the cops in the school. At the same time, it could work where, like, when I was in the high school, I developed a very good relationship with a lot of the students. Mm-hmm. And it was very cool when they realized that, it was me and Jose. And
I like the SROs. I agree with the SROs. We
interacted with the kids. It wasn't just like, I'm a police officer. It was like, hey, what's up? How you doing? What's going on?
Here's my point. My point is this. I think that SROs are great because they're there every day. They can build a rapport with the kids and they can build a relationship with them. But I don't think patrol cops from the street should be going into schools. You know what I mean? Handling calls. Yeah, I think that SROs should be handling those because they have the rapport. These kids are more comfortable with them and try to work with security to do that.
Absolutely.
Because you're sending in cops that may have just went to a heated domestic with grown adults and shit, and now you're sending them into a school where you want them to deal with a child. Yeah. So that's not really normal. There's just a lot of ththings that when they talk about police reform, I do think there needs to be a lot of police reform, but not necessarily in just use of force. I say in a lot of the things we're handling, a lot of things that we're going to, the responsibility they're putting on us. And I want to see more accountability at the top. I want to see more accountability for politicians. I want to see more accountability. If they're going to sit here and put blame on us and fire us, take our jobs from us, this and that, they should have to go through the same training that we're going through. Because how do you take somebody's job or give them a job if you don't even know?
You could train them. Put them
you've never been through the training. Yeah, go through the training.
Exactly.
Because if somebody asks you, say you're it doesn't matter what you are, whether you're a police commissioner, whether you're a mayor, a governor, or whatever. If you are going to be really stern on these topics and start
handle it,
yeah, you know what I mean. Then you should. If I asked you a question, you should have the answer to it. That's how it works.
Like I explained with the kid in the school, we get thrown into a situation that a lot of times is a long time brewing. We're expected to take listen, I'd love to say, all right, let's all pull up a chair. Any beer in the house? Let's sit back and discuss this issue. We get thrown into certain situations. You have no history, no background other than maybe, reporting a male and female beating the shit out of each other with pots and pans in the front yard. Okay, you got a little bit, you know what I mean? You got the title of the book. You don't know the book.
Right.
Now we get there, and you know how it is. Sometimes it works out well. Other times they're like, well, what the fuck are you doing here? This is my wife. I'm dealing with this. And you're like, well, sir, I got called here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to be here.
Right.
And this has to stop.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, here comes fucking Mr. Joe or Mrs. Joe. Think that they know what our job is, and they watch the last 2 minutes of that interaction. Yeah. Okay? And they're like, well, gee, and here's another thing, too, not to go off on a thing. When did the narration of a fucking home video of an incident going on become the gospel?
Yeah.
oh, they're not doing anything. Meanwhile, the dude's like, man, they're like, oh,
Yeah,
he's not doing it.
I thought it used to be case study.
Yeah, and everybody's going, oh, that's right. He's not doing anything. What? Like, when did that become?
Yeah, that's exactly what
like,
it is.
Whatever the person that's making the video says, all of a sudden that's what became.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's right, or he's right.
Yeah.
What are you talking
It's
about?
wild.
But anyways, they don't know. They'll never know, and they try to make a judgment, or they don't try. They make a judgment based on, I'm going to call it the tip of the iceberg. They have no idea.
No.
What transpired.
No.
And then here comes the narrative by the we got to do this.
Of course.
I don't want them to burn down.
People are exactly.
I don't want to burn down City Hall.
Yes.
Hit it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And now they're like this, and I apologize. I talk a lot.
No, you're
But
right.
You're talking
hitting
about
it.
the top brass. I blame them completely. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
They know, and I've said it, I don't know how many chiefs I've said it to. I go, man, I'm going to tell you something. People are going to say I was kissing up. I wasn't. We have a lot of different cops on New Haven. We have a lot of different personalities, we are a good goddamn police department.
I agree.
And the fact that most of our officers have conducted themselves in the manner that they have is why the city of New Haven, which numbers should be like this, all right? Like it's raining dollars. Police involved shooting, and it was low, and our statistics on things like that were very low in a city that was very, very busy. Mm-hmm. And we did a good job. For the brass police department to kneel in front of that police department is taking a piss on every officer that goes out every day, and I did it. I never wasted this department's time. A police officer that goes out there to do that job, their chiefs, their upper brass, the city council, I don't care, the governor's ball attendees, they pissed on these officers because we're a good department, we got good officers, we understand what we need to do, and their bosses took a piss on them. What were we apologizing for? Having a city like New Haven and going from like the 4th most dangerous city in America by FBI statistics per capita, obviously, to being a pretty decent city. I mean, this city's changed. And what, you think it's because you put up a new building and reduces crime? No, the cops that are working in this city are reducing crime.
You're right.
Not the mayor, not the chief. The cops are reducing crime. The patrolmen are out reducing crime. The detectives are out solving crimes. The cops, the worker bees, are doing the work. All right? When it's the right time, top brass sit back and say, yeah, we have been doing it. Meanwhile, they're going, man, it was my plan that... And then when all of a sudden people are going, we're pissed off. They're like, oh, here, fucking sacrifice, 3 of these guys. And that's what disgusted me. I'm very happy to be retired and not in law enforcement anymore.
Do you have like a love-hate type relationship with it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
think a lot of real cops have that.
You mentioned this earlier, that you were having a conversation. And we used to joke, but truth behind the comedy was more dangerous inside the building sometimes.
Yeah.
Than it was out on the streets.
Yeah.
You had to watch your ass. Yeah. You had to watch your back. And I'm going to say that it's been different. It's different inside. You still got to watch your ass, you still got to, but it's different than it used to be. And when the brass is not afraid to stand behind, what are you kneeling for? What are you kneeling for? We're doing a fucking great job in that city. What are you kneeling for? Why don't you go out there and say, we understand your concerns, but I'm going to tell you something. My officers are doing a pretty good job out there. They're doing the best that they can. We're spread thin. We're trying to do the best that we can for you. And we're going to keep doing what we're doing for you. Fucking kneeling? You kneel before God, or the Queen of England, she's going to knight you. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't kneel in front of fake-ass protesters that don't give a shit about any issue until there's an opportunity to, build themselves up in their mind or be seen on camera or just kind of show, yeah, what time, I gotta go. You know what I mean? Who are you kneeling in front of and for what reason?
Well, that's what we talked about earlier when there's a lot of, I don't want to say fake, but because, listen, I do believe that concerns for police reform are necessary and taken serious, but there are a lot of people taking advantage of the situation.
Absolutely.
For their own well-being.
And listen, it's human nature. You know what I mean? It's human nature.
It is.
I get it.
Especially in this society, it's almost,
Listen, this is reminiscent of a screaming child who's throwing a tantrum, and you're like, no, you're not getting a lollipop because you got to eat dinner. And the kid's like, blah, and you're like, no. And you're like, all right, have a fucking lollipop.
Yep.
Because it's the only thing that will shut the kid up.
You're right.
And that's what we're doing with people who are, of their own accord, misinformed, miseducated, being led by this, or just trying to make it look like they give a shit, and they don't.
Well, human nature for
don't.
people that get that all the time is they're going to take advantage of everything in life.
I mean, getting back to the top brass, there's a lot of things that go on in our department, from outer folks, people that do support us. And I know it's getting late. I'll say two more things. But, take, for instance, the owner of the car wash, Whaley Sherman.
Okay.
Washes police officers' cars for free.
Yeah.
All right? Your car's dirty. When we were having a budget issue, the city of New Haven wasn't issuing car wash slips for people.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Yeah,
There was months.
Yeah.
This guy's still washing cars. The whole city was getting their cars washed in the city of New Haven. To this day, he says, I love you guys. You guys are always there doing it. Doesn't mean you have to feel that way about cops, but he cares.
Yeah.
And his way of doing it is by saying, you know what, if you're a police officer, I'm going to put you through my car wash. But aside from the generosity of the car wash, Whaley Sherman, aside from that generosity, he's doing it because he wants to. Now, that helped the cars. It helped maintain cars. It kept cars cleaner.
Right.
I've driven police cars for 20 years in New Haven. I know what taking care of a police car does for a police car and what not taking care of a car. You think the city or the New Haven Police Department, who's well aware, it's not like, oh, he's giving away free car washes. They know. You think in the entire time that I've been getting my car washed there, because, I used to work that beat, but they came from all over the city. I don't know that the city or the chief or even the fucking city assessor, somebody from City Hall said, thank you very much for taking care of our patrol office, taking care of our police,
right,
and for taking care of our cars. You think they could do that? Do you know how many free car washes he's given? People will say, oh, he's getting something for it. You know what? If he is, it ain't worth what he's doing.
No.
You know what I mean? No. You're a landscaper. Give away the first 50 free,
Yeah, that water, everything. It costs them
Give
money.
away 50 free ones and claim that on your taxes and
right.
see if that was worth it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You do this, give away your business for free, and then you tell me it was worth it. So anyways, he cared and he did it. And this is our leadership. Not one of them ever said, you know what? We didn't have wash slips. Our police officers, our cars were disgusting. Our police officers have been washing their cars at that car wash for free. And let's send them a little thank you. Thank you for taking care of our police officers, and thank you for taking care of our cars.
Yeah.
Nothing. What does that cost? $5 for a pack of diplomas? But it's something. And that guy who respects police could say, oh, look what they sent me. This is very nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Not what I was looking for, but this is very nice.
Right.
This is very nice of them to do. Nothing.
Shows character.
But they kneel in front of a bunch of fucking crybabies. Sickening. Sickening and totally wrong.
It's tough for a lot. It's tough for a lot of people right now to see what's going on. It's tough for a lot of people inside. It's tough for a lot of people outside.
I take my hat off to people who are police officers now.
It's funny because man, not too long ago you were right there next to me, man, and I hear guys like you that are gone, and it's funny. I see a lot of guys that leave and they look like 1,000 times better.
Well, listen, like I said, I lost 20 pounds 8 months from retirement. And that wasn't working out.
Yeah.
I just retired and
The
I
stress
left.
alone.
20 pounds I lost.
Yeah, the stress
And
alone.
like I told you, I was depressed and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And I was hustling. You know, you're working. It doesn't mean that you have to lay there with your tongue hanging out. Depression, you can be very
You can be functional.
But I realized that job, over the course of my career, slowly.
It's not normal.
No, it's not.
It's not normal.
It's a
People
tough
don't
thing to live
understand that.
with. It's tough for all cops. I don't care if you're in a slow town, a busy city. Even in a slow town, you're going to see something. If it's one time in your career, and it's not these days, you see one thing,
Right.
it still affects you. You'll see things in 1 month that some people won't see their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
Their entire lives. Mm-hmm. They won't see someone with a bullet hole through his cheek and a bullet hole in his chest, in his shirt, and he's laying in blood. You'll go your whole life without seeing that in person.
Right.
Movies, Hollywood, different. And sometimes it's hard for them to understand what we're going through, and that's not an excuse because, like I said, we do this with it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that job depressed me till a year after I retired, when I would reflect back on some of the things, and I said to myself, I look at myself now.
Yeah.
I've not been a police officer for almost 2 years now, and I wake up differently.
Yeah.
I already
Feeling
wake up
everything feels different, huh?
I'm gonna mind my business today.
Yeah, that's
You know
wild.
what I mean? And when you're a police officer, when you're on your free time, you're on your free time. But when you're working, it's still that feeling. And whether like I said, I didn't know I was depressed on that job till after I retired, and I realized I was still functional. I worked. But I ran my life differently.
Mm-hmm. It's different. I don't think anybody can really understand
That's why
it.
I lost another 14 pounds. And in case any of the retirees I know are listening,
Yeah, who's doing the best out of all the retirees here, huh? I guess we'll find out. I was trying to get some more guys here. But so we'll get out of here. That was Arpad Tolnay, episode 24 of the For the Love podcast. Arpad, I want to keep having you on, man.
Conspiracy theories.
Yeah, if we do an episode with a lot of people, so if you want to join in on that,
I'm all about that.
Absolutely, we'll bring you in on that one. And my goal is to get some more retired guys here to talk some shop and talk about their experiences and stories. So we'll keep that going. But Arpad, thanks for coming on, my man.
You're welcome, man.
All right, guys, take care.
Don't ever let somebody tell you can't do something. You gotta dream. You gotta protect it. You want something, go get it. Period.